333, a proclamation.
Proclaim October 2024 to be Filipino American History Month.
Good morning, and I'm extremely honored and proud to bring this proclamation to Council today. Filipino American History Month commemorates the history of this vibrant community with the first recorded presence of Filipinos in the continental U.S. occurring on October 18, 1587, when Lusones Indios came ashore from the Spanish ship Nuestra Señora de Esperanza and landed on what is now Morro Bay, California. This month is a time to celebrate and honor the tremendous economic, cultural, and historic contributions of Filipinos in the U.S., and also a time to reflect on the tragic history of oppression of indigenous peoples from the Philippines in the U.S. This is especially important at a time when hate crimes towards Asian and Pacific Islander people, including Filipinos, are on the rise in the U.S. So today, through this proclamation, we are proving that love, education, and connection always triumph over ignorance and isolation. And there's no better way to do this than by honoring the experience of our leaders in our community. And we have the distinguished and honored guest list of speakers who will speak to the legacy of this incredible, resilient, joyful, and accomplished community. Now I will turn it over to our presenters and invite them up. Jaime Lim, Krismin Inocentes Bell, Fel Preligera, Christian Aniciete, and Richard Uvienko, and Celia Ferrer. Please join us.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioner Rubio, Commissioner Gonzalez, Dan Ryan. Thank you very much for having us this morning. We're very proud to be here and to celebrate this 437th year of the Filipinos landing in the United States. My name is Jaime Lim, and I'm a publisher of the Asian Reporter newspaper. And I'm simply here. I brought some of the younger folks in our group in the Filipino community to speak for us. It's time for the younger folks to step up. So, without further ado, I'd like to ask Phil to start.
Okay. Got a light. Am I on?
Yes.
Thank you. Good morning, City Commissioners, City Administrators, City Attorneys, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Fel Preligera. I'm the President of the Filipino American National Historical Society, Oregon, and Southwest Washington chapter. October 2024 is the 437th anniversary of the earliest documented proof of Filipino presence on the shores of the west coast of the continental United States. They were the first wave of Filipinos that came on board the Spanish galleon ship Nuestra Señora de Esperanza under the command of the Spanish captain Pedro de Unamuno. The galleon ship anchored at Morro Bay, California on October 18, 1587. The Filipino seamen of the galleon ship were called Lusones Indios because of the harsh treatment from the Spanish authorities. They jumped ship to establish new lives in California and nearby communities. The month of October was chosen as the Filipino American History Month because of this historical event. The city, in a state proclamation of the Filipino American History Month of October, is a manifestation of the Filipino Americans' contributions to the fields of education, business, government service, agriculture, ministry, medicine, and other sciences, humanities, in the United States military. This anniversary is a significant time to study the advancement of the Filipino Americans, a time for celebration, remembrance, reflection, and motivation, and a relevant time for all of our citizens to learn, appreciate more about Filipino Americans and their historic contributions to our city, state, and nation. The Filipino Americans National Historical Society's mission is to promote understanding, education, enlightenment, appreciation, and enrichment through the identification, gathering, preservation, and dissemination of the history and culture of the Filipino Americans in the United States. In the words of our founder, Dr. Fred Cordova, the Filipino Americans has much rich history, enlightening, inspirational, and at times sad. In 4 centuries in America, has made the Filipino American experience to be unique and instinctive odyssey, deserving to be shared with all Americans and others of goodwill. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored as the president of the Filipino American National Historical Society for the city's proclamation of the Filipino American History Month, October 2024. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Krismin Inocentes Bell, and I am the Executive Director of the Filipino American Chamber of Commerce of Oregon. And it's really, truly an honor to stand before you today as we mark Filipino American History Month. So on this momentous occasion, I'm here to acknowledge the power and leadership of Filipino Americans and what we bring to the communities that we live in and that we serve. So at the heart of Filipino culture is bayanihan, and I know you've heard this before. It is the spirit of coming together for a collective purpose. And traditionally, it means lifting up and moving your neighbor's house to a new place. What I love about it is that it symbolizes how we unite to empower one another. This is the spirit that drives the work of PACCO. As we support Filipino and other underrepresented entrepreneurs, foster economic development, and create opportunities for leadership and growth, our work is about ensuring that our communities are not just resilient, but powerful, with a say in shaping the economic and social future of Oregon. And as Filipinos, we've come a long way in our journey, pushing boundaries and leading movements for change in this country. Leaders like Larry Leong shaped the farm workers' rights movement, and Filipino doctors and nurses have been essential in healthcare advocacy, especially during and coming out of the pandemic. And here in Oregon, Mr. Jaime Lim has elevated the voices of Filipinos, building platforms for advocacy and for power. And today I stand in my power alongside you, alongside all of you, ready to continue this legacy and this journey together. As a Filipino American and the proud daughter of a U.S. Navy serviceman and a factory worker, I have always been inspired by our community's ability to find deep strength, to sacrifice, and to survive, and build together so that we can experience joy. PACCO's work continues that mission by creating access and opportunities for us to thrive, both as individuals and as a community. And so I want to invite us to stand together in our power to grow it, to amplify it, not just for ourselves, but for the generations to come, because I know together we are unstoppable.
I guess that leaves Good to me. Yes. Wow. I should have printed a speech. That was amazing. To our esteemed commissioners, our city administrator, our city attorney, all the community leaders who I'm so happy to see behind me. Good morning. I'm Celia Ferrer. My pronouns are she, her, sha. Sha is a gender neutral pronoun from the Philippines, where I'm from, where I grew up. I'm a first generation American. And it's so great to hear the speeches. I'm going to go rogue this morning. I'm just going to speak from the heart. And where I'm from is that I'm so grateful for the city of Portland to honor Filipino American Month in recognition of the many members of our community that hold that identity. I think it's important to highlight our differences and the diversity that we offer in order to build a community that truly is sustainable and thriving and that serves all of us, many of us. I think I come here really with the message that my journey here, was that of love. I came here because, I met somebody who is from here, and I had to leave a career that I loved to be in a new place, and that comes with it an immigrant story. I identify as a single mother, as a first generation American, an immigrant, and that comes with a whole lot of beauty and challenges. And as I look back on the history that Phil had shared, while it's true that we hold value with certain identities in our community that offer productivity, we always highlight the doctors, the caregivers, the nurses. Truly, the value is by existing. It is offering something that is different and unique and being able to celebrate that diversity in the hopes of creating a more equitable community for all of us. In my work at the Oregon Food Bank, I'm an associate director for Oregon Food Bank. I'm also a board member for Filipino Americans for Good Governance. In my work, equity is so important because we highlight typically marginalized members of our community. And for Oregon Food Bank, our equity constituencies include single mothers and caregivers, immigrants and refugees, transgender nonconforming folks, and also the last one would be BIPOC folks. And it's important to highlight how all of these identities offer value just by existing and also by knowing the struggles that come with their identities in order to bring solutions that could hopefully make a community thrive. So I come here with so much gratefulness in my heart for honoring the Filipino American identity, hoping that we could co-create and build a stronger community together.
Thank you.
Magandang umaga po, elected officials, staff, and fellow community members. It's a privilege to be here. Thank you for your time. My name is Aniciete. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm a communications coordinator for Washington County. And I'm also the president of API Forward, which is a local nonprofit focused on Asian Pacific Islander leadership. When I left the Philippines back in 1997 as a child, I didn't just leave a place. I left behind loved ones and a way of life that shaped me. Coming to America, I struggled to find my place, but I've learned that no matter where we are or where we go, our roots run deep. They ground us, shape us, and remind us of who we are. As Philippine national hero Dr. Jose Rizal once said, "Ang hindi marunong lumingon sa pinangalingan ay hindi makakarating sa paroroonan." He who does not know how to look back at where he came from will never get to his destination. His words remind me that our past doesn't hold us back. It pushes us forward. Today, Filipino Americans are one of the fastest growing Asian Pacific Islander groups in the US. In fact, in Oregon, over 47,000 Filipinos call the state home. In Portland, we don't just belong, we help build it, shape it, and bring it to life. This Filipino American History Month, we pay tribute to the many contributions Filipinos make to this city, this state, and this country that we love. Our presence is felt not just in healthcare, in education, business, government, the arts, or culinary, but in our very values: family, hard work, creativity, resilience, and that bayanihan spirit of community. This November, I'll have the privilege to return to the Philippines for a leadership immersion program to reconnect with my roots. As I prepare for this journey, I reflect on how far I've come. From a young immigrant searching for belonging to standing here today as a leader in my community. More importantly, I'm reminded that none of us walk this path alone. We're driven by the sacrifices and dreams of those who came before us, just like the very first Filipinos to arrive in the continental United States at what is now Morro Bay, California, back in 1587. And it is through honoring this past that we find the strength to keep moving forward. We are the bridge between two worlds, and by looking back to where we came from, we can build a brighter future, one where our values, our voices, and contributions continue to make a lasting impact. Maraming salamat po. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners, City Administrator, and City Attorney. Thank you very much for having us today. We really are very appreciative of the proclamation. Now, I am Richard Dibienko with Wells Fargo Bank and the Philippine American Chamber of Commerce of Oregon. And many of you know, or who know me, know that I wear two pins on my jacket at all times. One of the Philippine and United States flag conjoined together, the other pin a Wells Fargo stagecoach. These two symbols are not only pinned to the fabric of my jacket, but are also strewn into my identity as a Filipino American immigrant. As a Filipino American immigrant, I am very proud of my upbringing in Mandaluyong, Manila. Typical of a normal Filipino household, I grew up in a multi-generational household filled with respect for the church, for community, and for family. This is oftentimes recognized as the bayanihan spirit. In times of adversity, natural calamities, and acts of God, bayanihan becomes a distinct Filipino culture of helping one another, most especially in times of need, without expecting anything in return. Bayanihan drives my commitment to service and helping others in need. That is why I'm proud to be working in my role as a commercial banking relationship manager for Wells Fargo. My identity history begins in 1849, when prospectors known as the 49ers were among the first to rush for gold in California, and they were soon joined by gold seekers from around the globe. Thousands of people from Europe, Asia, Oceania, and Central and South America flocked to California for gold in the 1850s. They needed a company that could safely send their gold, money, and mail back home, and they counted on Wells Fargo for those services. In 1852, the year of its founding, Wells Fargo and Company opened its first international office in Panama to safely transport tons of gold from California across the Isthmus of Panama. Business expanded in Asia in 1867 when mail steamships began regular service across the Pacific. And in September 1901, very proud of this, Wells Fargo was the first U.S. Express company to open an office in Manila, Philippines, facilitating trade, strategically positioning the bank to help its customers grow their business in the Asia-Pacific region. Today, Wells Fargo employs nearly 12,000 Pinoys at our Manila campus, which has been recognized as a best-in-class infrastructure with 1.3 million square feet of space and an ecosystem comprising of office, fitness center, and cafeteria. Our Philippine operations form the core of Wells Fargo's global delivery strategy, providing technology and analytics capabilities, supporting most of the lines of business across the enterprise, and enabling the bank to leverage distinct advantages of doing business in a global environment. At Wells Fargo, we are focused on uplifting Filipino voices, not only in October during Filipino American History Month, but always. There is no better way to celebrate the significant historical and cultural contributions of the Filipino community than by creating a supportive and inclusive environment where everyone has a voice. I'm proud to say that I am one of many Filipino American employees afforded the time and capacity to serve my community in the aforementioned bayanihan spirit. And I do so proudly as active board member of the Filipino American Chamber of Commerce of Oregon. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nikki De Leon. I helped found the Filipino Bayanihan Center in 2021. And amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, it's a Filipino migrant resource center in Southeast Portland. And I, I came to the United States to Portland with my sister, and I went to the fifth grade in the David Douglas School District. And at that time, I would observe my classmates and how they greet each other. And they would often say, "What's up? Hey, what's up?" And having only learned the literal meaning of English words, I would literally look up to see what is up. And then later on, I would realize that what's up is an inquiry to what is going on with you. And so today I'd like to one, give thanks to the celebration of Filipino American History Month, but to also share what is up in the Filipino migrant community here in Oregon. This is a time not only to reflect on our community's rich history, but also to amplify our collective voices in the continued struggle that Filipino migrants often have for equity and justice in this city. The story of Filipino Americans is one of resilience, unity building, and collective organizing. We definitely honor the legacy of Filipino labor leaders like Carlos Bulusan, who spoke out against the exploitation of Filipino workers, Filipino farmers, and highlighted the harsh realities of inequality. His words remind us that our struggle for dignity and justice is not only a chapter in our history, but an ongoing mission that a lot of us here in the community are aiming to continue. The Filipino American history is filled with victories that we are definitely proud of, that we often want to share, but at the same time, it is also filled with stories of struggle. And at the Filipino Bayanihan Center, we serve over 5,000 Filipino migrants and Filipino Americans annually that contribute to society, some often even working two jobs, but still struggle with housing and food insecurity. And here in Portland and across the nation, we are not simply asking for a seat at tables where decisions are made, but we are also working together so that our voices may be heard um, in the city hall, in the streets, in workplaces, in schools, and any spaces where decisions are made. Too often, Filipinos and other marginalized communities are present but not heard. And so today, I would like to thank the City of Portland for providing us this space to be heard and to share the stories of our community. It helps us ensure that our voices are not just included but amplified, especially where our community has historically been silenced. And so, as we celebrate this month, let us recognize that this proclamation is just the beginning, and we are committed to continue creating these spaces with you all, and we ask that you also continue to commit to create these spaces for us as we invite you to join us in our Bayanihan spirit and join us in our collective action to ensure that the Filipino community does not stay at the margins and that we have in our history not just the stories of existing in society here in the United States, but also the story of Filipinos thriving alongside you. Thank you.
Does that conclude our presentation? Just want to make sure no one else is.
Yes.
Look, we've got one more. All right. Welcome.
Hello. My name is Dolly Specht, and I am the Oregon president of the National Federation of Filipino American Associations and board chair for Filipino American Chambers of Commerce Foundation. So I've served my time on a lot of the local organizations, and I now serve on a national level. But I'm here, thank you so much. This is the nth year that I've come here for you to recognize our History Month. And I'm sure you've been told that for us, there's a difference between history and heritage. So I'm gonna keep it short. I just wanna give each of you a copy because you're a new term of people and I don't know if you have. This is Filipinos in the Willamette Valley, which I co-wrote. And it is a historical account of the migration of Filipinos into the state of Oregon.
Thank you.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Any,
That should do it.
Any other, that concludes presentations?
Yes.
Colleagues, I'll turn it over first to Commissioner Mapps.
Thank you. Let me start out by thanking our guests for today's presentation. We appreciate you being here and we appreciate you sharing your stories. And colleagues, I also want to say this. I'm proud to join you in proclaiming October 2024 to be Filipino American History Month here in Portland, Oregon. Today, we celebrate the rich legacy of Filipino Americans who have shaped our nation, state, and city. Filipino American History Month is observed in October, as we've learned today, to commemorate the arrival of the first Filipinos in North America on October 18th, 1587 in Morro Bay, California. This moment marks the beginning of a long, complex, and interconnected history between the Philippines and the United States. Here in Oregon, the first significant wave of Filipino immigrants arrived in the early 1900s. Many came as farm workers, while others were students at institutions like the University of Oregon and Oregon State University. Today, over 42,000 Filipino Americans live in the Portland metropolitan area. Their contributions can be seen across every sector, from business to medicine, from education to government service. And the values of education, resilience, and community are central to the Filipino American experience. And these values continue to inspire and enrich our city. So, colleagues, as we reflect on this history, I encourage all Portlanders to take time this month to learn about and celebrate the contributions of Filipino Americans. Their stories are a vital part of Portland's identity, and their legacy continues to shape the city we love. Thank you so much.
Do you have comments, Commissioner Ryan? Commissioner Ryan?
Sure. First of all, thank you all so much. That presentation was so good. We often have these proclamations, but I don't think I've experienced one of late that was so in depth. You covered a lot of ground, from culture, heritage, business, media, platforms, by your elder leader, Mr.
Jaime.
And it was just such a compelling presentation, so thank you. One thing that I really stuck out for me as an adult learner is I never really marveled at the year 1587. And I think too often when we welcome groups and we think, and many of you are new arrivals, of course you covered that, but you're not new arrivals. You've been here much longer than most of us as far as your heritage and your culture. So I think it's always humbling for us to just take that in and soak it in. So I appreciate that you repeated that several times. On a personal level, I can't help thinking about my Filipino sister-in-law. One of the best things my brother, Philip Kevin, did was marry her 50 years ago. And our family gatherings instantly improved. There was warmth, and I'll just say it, the food went way up. And we always want the gatherings to be at her house, actually, because of that. So, right, food is the great bridge builder of all between cultures. And so now I just got hungry. I just wanted to again say thank you. I think 47,000 Filipino Americans that live in Portland should be lifted and seen. And I think that was one of the words used today. So just know you are heard and seen. And it was really good for us to take a moment and be with you and listen to all that you had to offer today. Thanks.
Before I turn over to Commissioner Rubio, I just want to say how proud I am to join in proclaiming October 2024 to be Filipino American History Month. And I'd like to thank the presenters once again for highlighting the amazing contributions, the amazing community that Filipino Americans are making here in Portland. I'm delighted to hear about all the achievements, the community, and yes, the food, but also to hear about the complex relationship the Filipino community has in our country. Simultaneously, new immigrants and deep, deep roots, all at the same time. And that's often not highlighted for so many of our communities that have that duality. It's clear that the 47,000 Filipino Americans here in Oregon are truly a strong community that support each other through shared values, and that's a beautiful thing to see for each of us and every Portlander. Thank you for being here today. Commissioner Rubio, it's my pleasure to turn it over to you to read this proclamation.
Thank you, Council President. And thank you so much to all of our esteemed presenters for joining us this morning and for your strong and insightful words. You inspire all of us and also future generations to proudly embrace their powerful histories and their cultures and identities. The political and economic and cultural influence of the Filipino community cannot be understated in our community, and it has shaped every single corner of our state and has made our community and our country stronger. So now it'll be my honor to read the proclamation on behalf of Mayor Wheeler. Whereas October 2024 is the 437th anniversary of the earliest documented proof of Filipino presence on the shores of the west coast of the continental United States, and whereas the citizens of Oregon should be informed of the positive impact Filipino Americans have had on our communities, and whereas in Oregon, thousands of Filipino Americans have made contributions to the field of teaching, business, government service, agriculture, ministry, medicine, and other sciences, humanities, and the United States Armed Forces, and whereas it is imperative for Filipino American youth to have positive role models and instill in them the importance of education complemented with the richness of their ethnicity and values of their legacy. And whereas efforts must continue to promote the study of Filipino American history and culture, because the role of Filipino Americans and those of other people who have been overlooked in the writing, teaching, and learning of the United States history. And whereas the anniversary is a significant time to study the advancement of Filipino Americans, a time of celebration, remembrance, reflection, and motivation, and a relevant time for all of our citizens to learn and appreciate more about Filipino Americans and their historic contributions to our nation and to Oregon. Now, therefore, I, Ted Wheeler, Mayor of the City of Portland, Oregon, the City of Roses, do hereby proclaim October 2024 to be Filipino American History Month in Portland, and encourage all citizens to join in recognition of the positive impact Filipino Americans have had on our community. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Richard, for making banking so compelling and interesting.
Yes, great story. Thank you.
Is it possible to have a photo op?
We can do one
Please.
again. We'll take a 1-minute recess here.
How are you?